We are live for another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike, and today we're going to be breaking down UFC Vegas 112. And it's a solid card. I believe we have 12 fights now because the Brito fight fell off. They'll probably find him a new opponent. We'll see. And we did gain a fight. We got Bobby King Green versus Lance Gibson Jr., who's making his UFC debut. Going to be an interesting fight to talk about. We're going to start with that fight because it's not added to Tapology yet, and I don't know the order, so that's going to be the first fight we talk about, and then we'll jump into the rest of the card. Solid fight card, decent one to end the year with. It was a good pay-per-view this past Saturday. I'll go through the results real quick. I didn't have a super big slate. Make sure you guys are hopping in the chat. Talk to me. Let's make this fun. It's always better that way. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you agree with and disagree with. As always, I appreciate it. And if you're watching, like, subscribe, follow, retweet, depending on what platform you're on. Always very helpful. So let's do a quick recap. Hopefully today won't be a super long show because I'm feeling pretty sick. And yeah, so been a little rough taping everything, and it's hard to speak too much, but we'll try to do a quick show today. So last week we had total was minus 0.91 units. That was the results for UFC 323. I didn't have any money lines. I didn't really like anything. I had Duncan round 2 and round 3, but he got the first round finish. I had Dawson round 2 and round 3, and Dawson round 2, round 3 knockout. Those all lost, obviously, because Torres knocked them out. I had Blachowicz submission plus 900. Didn't really, came kind of close once, but not really. And then I had Talbot round 3, also came close, but not really. He came closer in round 2. And then I had a parlay with Santos to win and Turner to win ITD. That was 1 unit to win 1.14. So ultimately ended up just losing slightly less than 1 unit, 0.91. It was a really volatile card, and we saw that. I didn't expect some of those results, but I did think that Peter Yan could pull off the upset. I said that all week, but I also said I was too biased, and I was. I was very sad to see Merab win. I was happy to see Peter win because I like him too, but mixed emotions there. The Pantoja fight, I mean, you can't really predict that, but I wish we kind of got to see it play out. And yeah, just a super volatile card. But this one, I like a little bit more for betting. I'm also not going to be going crazy on it, but I've already got 2 bets, and that's more than I had last week going into the show. So let's catch up with the chat now and then jump into the card. We've got Drinking No Things. What's up, my brother? Thanks for tuning in. The last card, yeah, I know it's funny because all the UFC fans who don't handicap and do content, they're sad, and reasonably so, because of 6 weeks no fights. That sucks. Anybody who does content and stuff though and has to actually like do stuff each week, we're ready. At least I'm ready. I'm ready for the break. I need those 6 weeks. What's up, Jackson? Good to see you in here. We got Tyler Birch in the chat. After the main event, I'm speed running, canceling my ESPN membership. I think mine's already canceled. I have to double check on that, though. I already have Paramount, though, which is clutch. So, all right. Like I said, we're going to start off with the Bobby Green, Lance Gibson Jr. fight. Let me pull up their records and stuff so I could just do a quick intro. Actually, we can skip that. That's not super necessary. I remember most of it. They're about the same height. I think they're both 5'10". And I think either Bobby or Lance has like a 1-inch reach advantage. And then Bobby Green, we all know he's 39. And Lance Gibson Jr., he's 30. If you're not familiar with Gibson Jr., he fought in Bellator. He was kind of this prospect they were building up. His pops, Lance Gibson, he fought in the UFC back in the day. And he's his coach. And Lance Gibson Jr., so he was in Bellator. They really slow rolled him. They gave him like really easy matchups, and like he looked good. He's a wrestler. He's an athletic wrestler who's learned to strike a little bit, who's still working on the striking game, and in my opinion, still needs a lot of work in the striking game. But he's a good fighter, mostly a wrestler. Just the level of competition has been pretty low. He did get knocked out the one time he stepped up in competition against Tokov. Tokov knocked him out with that jab. He got hurt in the Noah. I don't know how to say his name. Dung fight. That's his last name, Dung. He got hurt in that fight in the first round, and then he got knocked out by Tokov with the jab. That wasn't a great look. And then after that, he had 2 more fights. It was like super low level outside of Bellator. It was once either Bellator collapsed or he just left. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know that he had those fights. He won very easily because they were low level guys. And then he's been out for about a year. He's been waiting to be signed by the UFC. I remember last year or a couple months back, he was making a push to get brought in. I think there was fights in his hometown. I don't remember where that is. And now he's finally getting a shot on short notice. From what I understand, from what I can tell, Bobby Green knew he had a fight coming up. He knew he would be on this card. He just didn't know who his opponent was. And then Gibson, I'm assuming, just found out. So as of today, he knows. Maybe he knew yesterday or a couple of days back that it was that it might happen. And as of today, it's official. So now we know too. What's up, Raw Torque? And yeah, so it's a weird fight, really, because Bobby Green's 39 and like his durability's starting to go. And he's just not what he used to be. I don't think that his reflexes are as quick anymore, and he needs those because of his defense, because we know Bobby likes to keep his hands low, and he still has really good striking defense because he's able to, move his head really quick, or he's able to roll with the shots. But as you get older and those reflexes start to go, that's going to become more of an issue. And the durability itself, like once he takes those shots, he's not really eating them super well. To be fair, the guys knocking him out hit really hard. Hoofy most recently, and Jalen Turner. But still, he's getting hurt. He's getting knocked out. And I don't think the durability is all that great. I also think that, his takedown defense has always been good, but it's also been like 8 fights and 3 years since the last time someone's proactively grappled him. That was Islam. Outside of that, I think Tony shot like 3 times. And there were a couple other guys who shot him maybe once or twice, but no one's really trying to proactively grapple him. So we don't really know how he's going to be, but we know that historically he does have good takedown defense. On the other side with Lance, I don't think he can compete with Bobby in the striking. I don't. He's in southpaw stance, and then he'll switch and do nothing when he switches, and then switch back. I don't like that. I don't know why he's doing that. He's not throwing a lot of output. His boxing's okay, and he goes to the body decently well, but it's nothing special. And he's got a good body kick. I do like that, but if he can't take Bobby down, I think Bobby's going to piece him up. I think he's going to completely piece him up. He's a way cleaner striker, way more experienced, way more fights, way more UFC fights, fought the much higher level of competition, and just a way better striker, in my opinion. So if he can keep it on the feet, I think Bobby's going to pick him apart, maybe even knock him out, because like I said, Gibson can be hurt. But there's a world here where either A, Gibson wins by knocking out Bobby because Bobby's that chin is starting to go. Or I could see Gibson having some success with the wrestling. Like, he is a really athletic wrestler, and he's a good wrestler with solid control and pretty good ground and pounds and decent submission grappling too. So it's all really going to depend on the line. I still don't have a line. Let's check if BetOnline put something up. I know they're usually first. No, nothing yet. I assume that Bobby Green is going to be the favorite, but you guys know how the MMA markets are. They don't respond well sometimes when fighters are coming off of losses. Sometimes they'll exaggerate it. Sometimes they won't consider it enough. And I think they're probably, I don't know what they're going to do, honestly. My gut is telling me Bobby should be the favorite and they'll make him the favorite, but it's entirely possible for some reason he ends up being the underdog. I would bet Bobby at probably underdog odds. I wouldn't lay chalk on him just because of the age, just because I think he's starting to get a bit washed. Not a bit. I think he's quite washed. But if they give me like Lance Gibson plus 200, I'd probably be willing to take the risk with the younger, more athletic and really good wrestler in Gibson. So we'll see. But we can move on to the fights we have listed on Tapology. Next up, we have Tereza Bleda versus Jamey-Lyn Horth. I'm going to speed it up a little bit because I'm really not feeling great. Bleda 7-1-0. She's 24 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. Horth 8-2-0. She's 35, so she's going to be 11 years older. She's going to be 2 inches shorter, and she's going to have a 5-inch reach disadvantage. So I understand some of the concern with Bleda. There's a lot of people going to play Horth, and to an extent, I can understand it. The one thing that I can definitely understand is the fact that Bleda's been out for a really long time. I believe it's been 2 years. 2.5 years almost, and she's been dealing with really bad injuries. I believe it was a staph infection that started with her hand, and then it moved to her knee, and it's just been a real big mess. So there's that. And then the other thing everybody's harping on is the cardio. I'm going to tend to disagree. Now, sometimes I disagree when everybody's saying, oh, this person's gassy, and I end up being wrong, and maybe I'm going to be wrong. I get it that there are times where Bleda does look tired. Usually when her fights are over after 3 rounds, she is tired, sure. But I don't care what she looks like after the fight. I care about how she looks in the 3rd round during the fight. And outside of one fight, the Natalia Silva fight, she's fine in all the other ones. Everyone keeps pointing at the Gabriela Fernandez fight, like as if that's some kind of proof that she's tired in the 3rd round, when she takes down Fernandez, dominates her on top, lands over 80 ground and pound strikes. That the most that she landed in the entire fight, she landed in the 3rd round. And then people will look you dead in the eyes and tell you she was tired. Okay. I mean, you guys say the same thing about Pantoja every time he goes to a 4th and 5th round, and then he still wins those rounds. I don't think her cardio is all that bad. And if you think that her beating Natalia Silva in the 1st round, having her in a submission choke, and then being picked apart by Natalia Silva is enough to bet on Horth, how do you think that Horth would do against Natalia Silva? Do you think she would even win a round? Would she survive that long? So for me, I'm not really buying the whole cardio thing. Is she a cardio beast? Absolutely not. But I don't think that it's some kind of horrendous cardio where if she doesn't finish in the first 2 rounds, she's dead in the water. Like I don't find that to be the case personally. And it's not like I really think Horth is some kind of crazy finisher either. Like I don't really see it. So that's not a huge concern of mine in this fight. And then she's also 24. The last time we saw her, she was 22 years old. Fighters improve. And cardio is certainly something that you can fix, right? You can't fix height. You can't fix heart. It's hard. You could improve power, but it's hard. But cardio, you could definitely improve. And it's not all that hard to improve your cardio. So I'm not super worried about that department. And then when I look at how they match up, I mean, like I will say Horth's takedown defense is better than I remembered. Her balance was good in that Maverick fight, and she did a good job defending a lot of those takedowns. But I think Maverick looked like really, really bad comparatively to her other fights in that one. I just did not think she looked very good. And B, she still got taken down and got completely controlled in that 3rd round. The thing with Horth is I think her takedown defense is solid. I think off of her back, she's not good at all. And I just don't think that she's going to be able to keep this on the feet. I don't. Like on the feet, is she the better striker? Yeah, she's a better striker than Bleda, I would say. But is it by much? No, I don't think so. Bleda's awkward and clunky on the feet, but she's been improving. And again, she was 22 years old the last time we saw her. She's 24 still. She can still keep improving. And I don't really think Horth is some kind of amazing striker. Yeah, she landed 120 on Vanessa Demopoulos. Vanessa Demopoulos moving up a weight class when she's tiny as it is and could be an atom weight. Great job. Very, very great. So, yeah, I don't think she's that much better of a striker, but I also don't think that Bleda is going to keep the distance. Bleda is always closing the distance. In the clinch, I think she's going to be a lot stronger than Horth, a lot more physical. I like her clinch knees, and I think she's going to get the takedowns. And once she gets on top, I just think she's going to be able to keep Horth there. I don't think Horth has great get-ups. She struggled in that department with Petrovic. She struggled in that department with Maverick, and I think she's going to struggle in that department with Bleda as well. I think Bleda is a really strong, really physical grappler, and I like her ground and pound. I like her submission grappling. I think Bleda round 1 sub could be a good bet. I don't have that yet, but I do like that. Maybe round 2. Because I'll agree that she's not as explosive and not as dangerous later in the fight. For sure, I agree with that. But I do think she has the cardio to get through the fight. Even if it's not great in the 3rd round and she slows down, I don't think Horth is going to finish her. And I'm fairly confident she's going to take the first 2. So for me, it's Bleda. I don't know if I'm going to bet on it. I don't know if I want to mess with all the health issues with the staph infection and everything. But I might touch like the sub prop or the early sub prop, and we'll see from there. But I'll go Bleda decision. What's up, my guy Dravi? Dravi trying to rage bait me. He knows how I feel about this one. Demo was last minute. Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but that checks out. All right, moving on. We got Alan Frye versus Guilherme Pat. Frye, he's going to be 6-0 undefeated, 27 years old, 6'4". We don't have his reach. Pat, on the other side, he's 5-0 undefeated. He's going to be 1 inch taller. I don't have his age, and he's going to have an 80.5 inch reach. So not a ton of tape on these guys, mostly on Frye. There's a decent bit of tape on Pat, especially because his most recent fight, he did make it to the 3rd round in that one. And with Frye, I only was able to get to, I think, 2 fights, something like that. I believe it was 2. And they were weird angles, like awkward angles. And they ended in the first round and were low-level competition, so I couldn't really take much from those. Both of these guys seem to be guys who can struggle with grapplers. They seem like guys who can be taken down. I believe both of them were taken down in their last fights. So I think both of them struggle in that department. Both of them have that deficiency, but neither of them really wrestles from what I can tell. So I doubt that matters. It appears they're both strikers. And for me, Pat just kind of passes the eye test a little bit more. He's a massive athletic heavyweight. You don't see that often in the division. And sometimes that's all it really takes. You can get pretty far in the division without skills if you're just big, strong, and athletic. And he is, and he does have some skills. He's a good striker. I think he's a little bit cleaner than Frye on the feet. I think his kicks seem a little bit better, and I just have more information on him. So I'm going to pick Pat, but Frye seems like a tough guy with power. I wouldn't count him out. And I don't have enough info to really make solid predictions. I guess I'll go Pat, maybe like decision or like a late finish, because he's taking guys to decision who he probably shouldn't be. Like the one time he went the distance, it was with the dude who's like 5'10" and not super great. That was his first ever pro fight, or I think first ever fight ever. I don't think he had an amateur fight either. So it doesn't seem like he's the best finisher in the world, and Frye seems tough. So I'll go with Pat, but not a lot of info there to make a good decision. Next up, we've got Luana Santos versus Melissa Croden. Santos, she's going to be 9-2-0, 25 years old, 5'6", with a 67-inch reach. On the other side, Croden, 7-2-0. She's 34. She's going to be 9 years older. She's going to be 3 inches taller, though, and she's going to have about a 1.5-inch reach advantage. So this one was interesting for me because I went into it pre-tape thinking like Santos minus 130. Like she's definitely the better grappler, seems to be the better fighter. I'll probably get there. And then I taped it and I ended up liking Croden instead, honestly. So for me, like I can still see Santos having the grappling success, right? She definitely is the better grappler. I do think that's a weakness of Croden's. If you can get her on the ground, I do think that she still might have some faults there. We don't have a lot of, proof of that because she's not really getting taken down a lot. Lisboa took her down, I think, twice. Couldn't really keep her there. When she fought a good grappler in Evelyn Martins didn't really get her down. She got her down like once, I think. She wasn't really shooting. So we don't really have a ton of information, but Santos is slick on the ground. She does have good jiu-jitsu, and if she does get it there, I could see her, submitting Croden or keeping her there. But if she doesn't, and, she has to get her there first. And Santos, she's a judo girl. She's a judo black belt. And, like, I don't know that those trips are going to work. When Lisboa took down Croden, she, like, kind of tripped her, but she was also shooting. She was just finishing the shot with the trip. And it's like Croden is so massive for the weight class. And Santos is up at bantamweight because she thinks it's easier to get to the title shot than flyweight. And she's not wrong. But I just think she's going to really struggle with the physicality of Croden, and I don't know that those trips and those throws are going to work on Croden. And if they don't, she's probably going to be in a little bit of trouble because she's young, she's improving. Maybe the striking will get better, but right now, I don't think her striking is very good. I don't think it's been improving all that much fight to fight. She's been in the UFC for a little bit now, and her striking doesn't look all that different to me in the Egger fight versus her most recent fight with Lisboa before she took Lisboa down. It just doesn't seem that different to me. And in the Casey O'Neill fight, she got her butt kicked. So she has like some decent kicks. She's got decent boxing, but it's not that good. And I think that Croden, while she's not the best striker in the world, she's long, she's rangy, she throws clean straight down the pipe. She's got solid pop to her punch because she's really, really big. And when she closes that distance and gets in the clinch, that's where she does her best work. She's got a really good clinch game, really nasty clinch knees. And especially if Santos is going to be trying to do trips and throws, that means she's going to be in the clinch with Croden, and Croden, I think, is going to be stronger there, and she can just throw up those knees. So for me, I got to lean with Croden. She's just got that dog in her. She's super tough. She's big. She's physical. She's strong. She'll fight for my money. If she gets subbed, so be it. It is what it is. But, if she gets on top, I don't really think she will. But if she does get on top and doesn't get herself submitted, her ground and pound is really solid too, and she can do some damage there too. So for me, I'm going to go with Croden. I think this is a pick 'em fight, and she's the underdog, so I think the value's there. I'll go with a decision, but this could be another fight where she gets a late finish because Santos does slow down in the third round. She lost every round against Casey O'Neill, but she lost that one. She lost the third round against Egger, and I think that Croden, her cardio is very good, and that damage adds up. She's not super powerful, but attritionally, she finishes a lot of women, and I think that Santos could be one of them. Green Kings. Santos will also struggle with bigger chicks at bantamweight. Yeah, bantamweight's just a lot more shallow. I think that's what she meant. But yeah, I'm going to go with Croden. Not the world's most confident pick, but I am fairly confident that she's a value side pre-flop. Oh, no way. All right, I can kind of break that one down. I've taped Thompson before, but it's been a long time. Let me look him up. I know he just recently won a fight that not everybody felt he won. Yeah, the Islam Boa fight. I got to tape him, but I do know that Isaac Thompson is very good, and he's not just a regional bum that they're throwing to Brito. So that should be a really interesting fight. I'm going to have to tape it, so I'm not going to give a real breakdown. We know what Brito is. Plotty striker with good power, though. And he's a solid striker, too. He's just very plotty and flat-footed at times, and a good grappler with very dangerous jiu-jitsu. But low-key, Isaac Thompson can beat him, I think. That could be a really interesting line. All right, moving on. We've got Sean Sharaf versus Steven Asplund. Sean Sharaf, 4-1-0, 32 years old, 6'3" with a 77-inch reach. On the other side, you've got Asplund. He's 6-1-0, 27, so he's 5 years younger. He's going to be 2 inches taller, and he's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. Asplund probably had the best post-win Dana White's Contender Series interview in history. That was hilarious. But this fight, it's an interesting one. I've seen a good amount of interest on Sharaf, and I understand it, especially after taping it, because skill for skill, they're very even. I don't think that Asplund is a better striker than Sharaf. I think Sharaf is also a good striker, and they're very similar in their styles. They both throw pretty high output. They both target the body really nicely, and their striking is just very, very similar to me. So I do think that it's pretty competitive. It's going to be competitive on the feet early. I do think so, and I think that Sharaf has more power than Asplund does. And I also think that Sharaf, if he wanted to wrestle Asplund, he probably could. Asplund doesn't have great takedown defense, and he can get stuck on the ground. And Sharaf has some pretty good wrestling. That's something in his toolbox and something he uses pretty well. So early on, I can see Sean Sharaf winning that first round, whether it's just on the feet and a close striking affair, but he's landing the bigger shots, or he gets a takedown and wins the round that way. And I can see him finding a finish early too. The problem is the cardio, right? We saw in the Tafa fight, he slowed down hard. Now that was on 4 days short notice. So it's kind of fair that he slowed down, but we don't know if that's going to happen, every fight. We don't know if that was because it was short notice or because he fought at too high of a pace, because that first round was a really high pace. He threw a lot of strikes. I think he landed like 30 something significant strikes in that first round. That's a lot for heavyweights. And I just don't know right now, right? So that's kind of why I want to take this fight off, and I'm probably not going to bet on money line. There's a prop I am thinking about. I'll talk about it in a second. But I kind of want to just see what Sharaf's cardio actually looks like if this fight gets prolonged, and then have that information, because I don't know. It's possible that he's not gassy and that it was just that fight because it was short notice, or he's not gassy and it was just because he didn't really pace himself well. But it's also possible that he is gassy. And Steven Asplund, he doesn't really get tired. He does get tired, but not as much as Sean Sharaf. And I do think that his cardio is better. I think he's a guy who's good at getting attritional finishes because he throws a lot of volume. I do like his striking. I do like his counters a lot. And I just trust his cardio a bit more. So I'm going to pick Asplund. And the prop that I am kind of interested in is Asplund round 2, to get that round 2 finish, similar to how Tafa did it against Sharaf. If Sharaf does end up having bad cardio, Asplund, I think, will take advantage and will get him out of there. But pre-flop, I don't hate a bet on Sharaf. I think he's pretty good. I think their levels are very close. I think he does have a wrestling advantage, and I like his camp too at Extreme Couture. Let's see what we got in the chat. These are some big dudes. May have to watch weigh-ins. I mean, I assume they're going to make weight. Not bald guy going to win. You never know. Sharaf's a dog. Do we know if... No, that's what I'm saying. We don't know for sure. It's possible that he is a gasser, but we don't know for sure. Yeah, but he was on 4 days short notice, and he was doing damn well too early. All right, moving on. I'm hyped for this fight because Us Ukrainians haven't had many good fighters in the UFC. We have Danil Donchenko now, so that's good. And now we have Amosov, so that's also good. Hopefully he wins this fight. But in this matchup, we've got Neil Magny versus Yaroslav Amosov. Magny, he's going to be 31, 13, and 0, 38 years old, 6'3" with an 80-inch reach. Amosov on the other side, 28, 1 and 0. He's 32, so he's 6 years younger. He's going to be 4 inches shorter, and he's going to have a 5-inch reach disadvantage. So we all know Neil Magny, best gatekeeper in the game. He got Jake Matthews in their last fight, and he's a guy who, if you don't get him out of there, he's going to come back and finish you. And I do think that he's relatively washed, but he's still getting it done. So obviously not washed enough. You know, the Jake Matthews performance, the Zaleski performance was okay. He was kind of losing before he got the finish, but it was still a solid performance. And we know Magny, he's good in the clinch. He's very strong in the clinch. If he can keep you there, he's happy to stay there and win minutes. He's a solid grappler. He's got solid jiu-jitsu. He's got great cardio and solid wrestling, but not the most durable these days. You hit him hard enough, he's going to go out. He could be submitted in his own right. And I think that he could present problems to Amosov, but I personally don't really think so. Like, I'm not sure what that win would look like Amosov gassing, I guess, and a classic Magny comeback. I could see that. And maybe I'm just overrating Amosov because I'm biased and I want a good Ukrainian in the UFC. That's possible, but you can pick at his record all you want. You know, Bellator champ, not as meaningful as UFC champ. You can say you're not impressed by the Storley wins or the Lima win or whatever, but I think Amosov is pretty damn good personally. I think he's a good striker. I think he's a better striker than Magny. I think that he's got solid power. He's not the biggest power puncher, and he doesn't get a lot of knockouts these days, but I do think that he hits relatively hard. I think that he's got good submission grappling. I think he's got very, very good wrestling, very good takedown defense. I don't think Magny's going to be able to take him down. I think Amosov will be able to take Magny down. I think that's what he's going to be doing. And I think ultimately Amosov either submits Magny or he's going to get the decision win. I think very highly of him. The Jason Jackson performance was bad. He gassed out, couldn't get him down, and Jackson got him out of there. But Jackson's a really good fighter too. And it happens. You know, bad performances happen. He came back. He subbed Millender really easily. So, yeah, for me, it's Amosov. I don't think I'm going to bet on him because he's minus 400, but I'll look at props. Maybe Amosov sub round 1, maybe like a club and sub. I think he's going to finish Magny. People underrating Amosov, but bro is competitive with Hamza. I mean, they're not really underrating him. He's minus 400, you know. I know there's a lot of people looking to back Magny, but I mean, can you blame them? Magny's made a lot of people a lot of money as a big underdog. Moving on, though, we've got... Sorry, if you're just tuning in, if I seem a little off, I'm sick, so just trying to get through this as quick as I could. We've got Amanda Lemos versus Gillian Robertson next. Lemos is 15, 5 and 1, 38 years old, 5'4" with a 65-inch reach. Robertson, 16, 8 and 0. She's 30. She's going to be 8 years younger. She's going to be 1 inch taller, and she's going to have a 2-inch reach disadvantage. Kind of a tricky fight for me, and it's a fight that I want to circle back to and look at it a little bit more, hopefully when I'm not as sick, because my brain will be a little bit fresher. I lean towards Robertson. I do think she's going to get the takedowns, and I do think that once she gets on top, she can maybe submit Lemos or, you know, just win the minutes that way, land her ground and pound. Her ground and pound's been getting really good, but Lemos has great takedown defense. She's not easy to take down. She did well against Suarez, and, you know, to an extent, it might be because Suarez was just really washed. She did look really washed, but Lemos did put up a really good fight. She's not easy to take down. She's a great striker. She's got a lot of power. Her output's not great, but she'll still be a better striker than Gillian. And if she can keep it on the feet, she's going to be winning. She's the better striker. She hits harder. I think she's more accurate. So relatively binary fight, but like also Lemos can probably take her down if she wanted to try. It's not like Robertson has crazy takedown defense. And I don't know how much of a threat off of her back Robertson is. I think she's a little bit more comfortable when she's on top. That's something I want to look at a little bit more because I do think that's an underrated thing that can happen here. That Lemos can get a takedown or takedowns. So, yeah, I understand why people are backing Lemos, and that's a spot that I'm also maybe considering. It's a fight I need to look at more. But as of now, I'm going to go Gillian. I'll go Gillian decision because I also feel like Lemos is a little bit washed in her own right, and I don't think she's what she used to be, but she's still a really tough fighter, and she gave Suarez a really good fight. And Gillian, if she can't get the takedowns, I think the striking is something she's still deficient in a little bit. It's been a work in progress. She's been doing a good job on it, but I don't think she can compete with Lemos in a striking affair yet. But as of now, I'll go with Robertson. Youth and grappling is usually enough for me to pick that side. Don't blame you at all, Green King. Oh, they put up the fight, but we already talked about it. So if you're tuning in now and you want to hear me talk about this fight, either wait until the stream is finished and I'll put timestamps and you can see it, or go back. It was the first fight I broke down. I broke down this fight and I picked Bobby. But what I do with the fight is going to depend completely on the line. All right, moving on. We've got Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Marcus Buchecha. Kennedy's going to be 14-6-0, 33 years old, 6'5" with an 83-inch reach. Buchecha 5'2-0. He's 35. He's going to be 2 years older, going to be 3 inches shorter, and he's giving up 6 inches in reach. So really funky fight. Really weird one, because you have two guys that it's kind of hard to trust, right? On the Kennedy side, you have a guy who sometimes looks like he can be champion and sometimes looks like a bottom of the barrel guy, and you never know which Kennedy you're going to get. I do think that now at heavyweight, we're going to see more of good Kennedy because he doesn't have to cut so much weight, and now he's going to start to fill into the heavyweight frame, and I think he might start to get better and better. We might see him to get stronger. We might see that power start to get even more impressive. So I think the move to heavyweight was a net benefit for him. I think that was a smart thing. After that OSP performance, I think it was pretty clear what he had to do. But he's just a guy who's hard to trust. And then on the Buchecha side, you have a guy who's a really, really high-level grappler, but hasn't really been able to mix it into MMA all that well. I mean, I really thought he should have handled business with Budai. Budai's a really big dude. You put him on his back, it's going to be hard for him. But Buchecha couldn't really take him down. His wrestling's just not up to par, and he was able to still take advantage of certain spots and take the back opportunistically. He has got a really nice back take, and he is a really dangerous guy. But I just really didn't like what I saw in terms of the wrestling, and I think that his cardio isn't great either, and his striking's just not that great either. So it ends up being a pretty binary fight. My guy Dravi over here, I mean, why not? Why not? And that's the only reason the line is the way it is, and I can't really blame it because, like, Walter Walker, yeah, he's a heel hook specialist, sure. He's been doing it in MMA now 4 times in a row. Super impressive. And the way he did it to Kennedy, he just ran at him. Closed the distance, shot. Kennedy got back up, and then he dropped for a single and then dropped to the heel. But, like, why can't Buchecha do that? Buchecha did a very similar thing to Grushenko at ONE FC. And, you know, Grushenko's a decent fighter too. Maybe not the level of Kennedy, but he's a good fighter. I would say he's pretty high level. Like, could probably fight in the UFC better than some of these other heavyweights the UFC's been signing. I'll say that much. So I could see Buchecha just running out there and getting a heel hook. It's definitely possible, and it's also possible that Buchecha takes him down and, you know, submits him, because Kennedy, his takedown defense is good, but it's not the best. He's been taken down plenty. Devin Clark got him down. Kutelaba got him down. And, you know, once you take these really big, tall, lanky guys down, it depends how you get them down, right? If you get them down to the point where their back is still in the cage and they're kind of posted up, maybe have a knee up, they're going to work their way back up. They're going to be really hard to get down that way and keep down. But if you get them flat on their back, it's really hard for them to get their base under them and to get back up unless they get the fence. So if he gets Kennedy down in open mat, he's going to have, you know, the opportunity to do whatever he wants over there. And he's definitely the way better grappler, by far the highest caliber jiu-jitsu guy Kennedy's ever fought. So he's going to be a big threat. But if he can't take Kennedy down, Kennedy's going to kill him. Kennedy's such a better striker, and he's got good range management. He's fast, great jab. I really like the teep kicks, and I think leg kicks and teep kicks will be a really good weapon here to slow down Buchecha. It's just you have to make sure you're not getting those kicks caught, because that's another way Buchecha can get him down. And if anybody's going to get his kicks caught and end up getting submitted in a fight where he's winning, it's going to be Kennedy. So I have my concerns, but in terms of a pick, I do lean towards Kennedy being able to stuff the wrestling, because I don't really rate Buchecha's wrestling. And on the feet, I think those teep kicks, rip them over again. I think Kennedy will just be the better, cleaner striker with a lot more weapons. He'll be better in the clinch. The clinch knees will be money. And I think he should be able to, honestly, I think he probably finishes Buchecha late, like a round 3 finish maybe. or round 2. Let's go round 3. I wonder what the numbers are on that. I didn't think of that until I just said it out loud. Yeah, they're not pricing it well. They're on to us. KO's not bad, but it's like, I know Kennedy's not going to sub Buchecha, but might be worth having that equity. Yeah, maybe Kennedy late props. That's something I'll look at. But yeah, overall, I lean Kennedy, but it's hard to be confident. It's really hard to be confident, especially in the Kennedy-Nzechukwu fight. Budai won every scramble and ended up on top eventually. Budai is a BJJ black belt long term anyway, so who knows? I don't know what belt Kennedy is, but isn't he a black belt too? Or maybe he's a brown belt or something. I could be wrong there. And he definitely didn't win every scramble. I agree with Dravi there. But all right, we can move on. Not confident in that fight. Next up, we've got probably the best fight on the card. We got Morgan Charriere versus Melquizael Costa. Charriere 21-11-1, 30 years old, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. Costa on the other side, he's going to be 24-7-0, 29. He's 1 year younger. He's going to be 2 inches taller, and he's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage. So I know that Charriere is like a really, really popular play this week, and I can understand why. He's who I'm picking to win the fight. I just think that he's a cleaner striker. I think that he can get takedowns. I think that he's got more finishing upside, and I think that Costa's a liability in the pocket, and Charriere hits really hard and is good in the pocket. So those are the reasons I like Morgan to win. It's just I don't know that I can get to the bet. Unless I get the plus money that a lot of people got, then I'd be a little bit more interested. But otherwise, I think I'm just going to stay away because in Costa, you have a guy who is improving a lot. And I think his striking has actually gotten really clean. And I enjoyed watching his recent fights with the striking. In the Yaroslav fight, he was putting together really nice combinations. When he was at space against C-Rod, he was putting together a lot of nice work. And I do think his striking has been looking really good. And he's just going to throw a lot more than Morgan. I think he has maybe a few more tools than Morgan on the feet, a few more weapons, I guess. He'll mix it in the knees. I like his kicks a lot. Morgan has really good kicks too, though. Nice body kick and nice, really nice leg kicks. But Costa also really nice leg kicks, good body kicks. So I just feel like the thing is Costa's going to do more, and Morgan is always liable to just stand there and stare and not throw enough. And he's a guy who just doesn't separate, and that's why he's 5-10 in decisions. It's because he doesn't separate. He's a really talented fighter. He's really good everywhere. He's very well-rounded. Doesn't really have cardio problems. He's not chinny. He's a great fighter. It's just that sometimes he has lapses and he just doesn't do enough and he throws fights away. And I think that this is a fight where that can 100% happen because you have a guy in Morgan who will be doing the better work, I think. But you have a guy in Costa who's going to be grinding the entire time, who's going to be throwing the entire time, and is not going to be easy to deal with. And I think that both guys can get takedowns. I think it'll be easier for Morgan because his takedown defense is better than Costa's. But I don't really know how much Morgan's going to do with those takedowns. He's not a grappler by trade. He doesn't have crazy jiu-jitsu. His ground and pound is fine. But Costa has really good scrambling. He's a really good scrambler, and he's not easy to keep on the ground. So I don't think Morgan's really going to have a ton of success keeping him there. I think this is going to be primarily a striking affair, and it's really going to come down to output versus damage, I think. So I'm going to lean towards Morgan. Just think he's the slightly better fighter. But it's a really close fight, and I feel that Pick'em is correct, and that's where the line is, so I'm not going to bet on a line that I think is right. And, yeah, that's where I'm at. But if Morgan ends up being an underdog, then I would get involved, probably, because I do think he should win that fight. Charriere is like Sadikov. Kind of looks good on the eye test, but never works out minute-winning-wise ever. Always loses unless he finds a KO. I wouldn't say ever. Yeah, I wouldn't say ever. I don't think he's as bad as Sadikov when it comes to minute winning. Sadikov, we all know, is a bad minute winner. Morgan, I don't think is as bad in that department, but I can see where you're coming from. He does just not do enough to separate a lot of the time. Costa had great pressure against Garcia and won round 1, but gassed bad. He gassed, but he also just got hit by Garcia, and we know what a menace he is. Yeah, this is fair. This is fair, but also good competition. All right, let's move on. Next up, we've got Cesar Almeida versus Cezary Oleksiejczuk. Sorry, I was just checking what the next fight after this was. Cesar Almeida, he's going to be 7-1-0, 37 years old, 6'1" at the 74-inch reach. Cezary, he's 16-3-0. He's going to be 25, so he's 12 years younger, 2 inches taller, and he's going to have a 1.5-inch reach advantage. So for me, I like Cezary here. I do like him. I tried to fade him on the Contender Series, but that's only because he was facing a wrestler, and I felt like he could still be grappled, and I felt like Theo Hague was a good wrestler, and if he could have gotten his game going, he could have won that fight. But he didn't get his wrestling going. He got knocked out. I know it was like there's all that drama with the stoppage. It is what it is, but that's why I tried to fade him there. And normally I'd be open to fading an underdog. Fading a Dana White's Contender Series signing who's a favorite in their UFC debut against a good fighter, and Cesar Almeida is a good fighter, but I actually like Cezary here, and I'm going to say Oleksiejczuk because Cesar and Cezary, it's hard. I do think that Oleksiejczuk is the side. I don't know if I would get behind -200, but I did like that -162, -165 that was laying around some of those earlier numbers. I just think that when you look at it, it's two strikers primarily. Cesar's completely a striker, and Oleksiejczuk's mostly a striker. But you got two strikers. One of them comes from a long kickboxing background. He's greener in MMA. The other one has a lot of MMA experience, but he's 12 years younger. He's 12 years younger than Almeida, and I think that's really meaningful. I think that Almeida, at this point of his career, like, I don't think his durability is all that good. He's getting hurt in fights. He's looking kind of slow at times, and we all know that he can be grappled. We all know that he can be grappled. His takedown defense isn't great. It's solid. It's not like he's super easy to take down, but once you get him down, his game off his back is quite poor. Kopylov grappling him like that, not a great look. Didn't like that. So I do think that he can be wrestled. I do think he can be grappled. And with Oleksiejczuk, in terms of the grappling, you don't see it often. There's fights where like he ends up on top because he hurt the guy or because he scrambled and got on top. There's fights like there's moments like that, and he does have good ground and pound. He does have some slick like submissions that he's threatening. But there was one fight, I think we're going to be able to see it on this one, but I'm not sure. No, we can't. I'll tell you guys which one it was. It was the fight against Agun Akhmedov in 2021. So in that fight, and Akhmedov's pretty good. Record at the time was 22-2. In that fight, Cezary did grapple a little bit more, and it did look pretty good. Some of it was caught kicks, some of it was takedowns, but he did grapple. I believe he took the back, if I'm remembering correctly. I taped a lot today, and it's all mixing together. But he does have a little bit of grappling. His wrestling's not bad, and his submission grappling is not bad. So I like that he has that in his back pocket. But he's still primarily a striker. He's going to look to strike with Almeida, which is dangerous. Almeida coming from that high-level kickboxing background, having those nasty hooks, having those really good counters, having a lot of power and good leg kicks. But Cezary also has a lot of power, and he's a southpaw, so that's going to be a little bit tricky. And I like his striking a lot. I think he's faster than Almeida. I think that he hits really hard in his own right. And when you're going to give me two strikers, but one of them is 12 years younger, also has some grappling upside, has been improving fight to fight to fight, hasn't been taking super easy fights, and he's training at Fight Nerds. Like, it's not too hard to sell me on it. I do like Oleksiejczuk here. I think he's going to get it done. I don't know what I lean towards. He can decision him. He can knock him out. He can sub him. Usually when I can't decide, I just cop out and I pick decision, so I'll do that. But Dravi bringing this up, what do I think about Cezary sub? I like it. And I was thinking to target it, but what's the number? Oh, for some reason, I thought the number was plus 500. Yeah, I do like it. Plus 850, I like a lot. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. As always, if you want my bets, my notes, my breakdowns, you can only get those at the House of Stims Discord. Link is in the description of this video. I like a surprising amount of submission props this week. But all right, let's move on. Green King saying I think he goes over. I like that. I like that too. All right. Next up, we've got Giga Chikadze versus Kevin Vallejos. In full transparency, I have not taped this fight yet. I've been waiting just because there were a few that I wanted to check out first, and I know a lot of people are talking about this fight, and I kind of want to wait a little bit till I'm less sick because then I could focus better. That would be very helpful, and maybe I'll find a spot. But I'll give my pre-tape breakdown, and I know both of these guys pretty damn well, I would say. We have Giga Chikadze versus Kevin Vallejos. Chikadze, 5'5", 15-5-0, 37 years old, 6 feet tall with a 74-inch reach. Vallejos on the other side, 16-1-0. He's 24, so he's going to be 13 years younger. He's going to be 5 inches shorter, and he's going to be at a 6-inch reach disadvantage. So I know everybody loves Kevin, and I like Kevin. He's a fun personality. He does that whole "we will beat Giga" thing on Twitter, and I know the Zoomers like that. He's clearly a guy who does have a high ceiling, in my opinion. I know some people don't think he has much of a high ceiling, but I do. I think he's a great striker. I think he's an athletic dude. I think he clearly has power. I like his body work. I like the combinations. I think he can grapple a little bit. His wrestling's solid. His takedown defense seems solid. But he still has a lot to show. And from memory, again, I'm talking pre-tape. I haven't taped this one yet. From memory, the Danny Silva fight was relatively close. And he was like minus 400 in that fight. And now he's like minus 250. And Giga's no slouch. I know he's old. And I know he's probably a little bit washed. But he's no slouch. And in these fights, like the Arnold Allen fight, he didn't look that bad. In the Onama fight, I thought that he had I don't think he had an argument for winning. I had money on him in that fight, but I thought that he was clearly the value side, and that was a fight that he could win. You know, if you run it 100 times, I think Giga's winning a good amount of those. It's just Onama with the physicality, the athleticism was able to mix in the wrestling. Onama, super athletic dude, and that was able to get the job done for him. But Giga is still a really, really clean striker. Giga is still the kickboxing is elite. His Giga kick, the stupidest thing ever. It's literally just a body kick, and they named it the Giga kick. The Giga kick, the body kick is really nice. Good range management, good lateral movement, good striking. Outside of Giga getting chinned or outside of Giga getting grappled for 15 minutes, which I have a hard time seeing Kevin do because that's just not his game. And Giga's takedown defense is solid. It's not horrible. Outside of that, this fight should play out really close. And I think that Giga, he's like plus 200 now, even higher, plus 250. Like, I think that's a solid play. But again, I'm pre-tape and I need to tape it and then decide whether I think that I want to take the risk or not. Because do I really want to get in front of Kevin with a 37-year-old Giga? Pre-tape, not really, but we'll see what happens. Because I do think that Kevin has a bright future, and I do think he's very good. I'll go Kevin decision, though. Let's see what we got in the chat, and then we're going to move on to the main event. Tristan saying Vallejo said he heard Giga cuts from 85. Wonder if we make weight this time. I think that's pretty standard, honestly, to cut to 140-pound cut. Maybe not standard, but it's not like an unheard of cut, you know, but he is getting older and the weight cuts get harder. Clearly won versus Silva, but it was close and Silva gave him the fight he wanted. Yeah, I have to look. I'm assuming Silva didn't move all that much because I know he's not a huge lateral movement guy. Giga's not going to be as easy to hit, and Giga does have good defense. So yeah, could be an angle there. I gotta tape it. Needs to get the Giga kick popping again. I'd only bet Giga for bigger cage. That's fair. That's a good point to bring up because we're back in Vegas in the Apex now. Probably favors Kevin a little bit. All right, and we got our main event. We've got Brandon Royval versus Manel Kape. I feel like this fight's been booked 600 times. Brandon Royval, 17-8-0, 33 years old, 5'9" with a 68-inch reach. Kape, 21-7-0. He's 32. He's 1 year younger. He's going to be 4 inches shorter, and he's going to have the same reach. So when was the last time we saw Kape? 9 months ago in the Asu fight. Yeah. And then this fight was 5 months ago. That's why I wanted to see. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to trust Kape. at minus 300 because he's Manel Kape. And we don't even know if he's going to show up. We don't know how he's going to be feeling that day, whether he wants to throw out but that day or if he doesn't. But realistically, like, I do think that he's a tough matchup for Royval, and I do think that he should beat Royval. Now, this is a 5-rounder, and if Royval is able to survive the early goings, I can see him making this close because he's an absolute dog. He throws a ridiculous amount of volume. He does not quit. He's I couldn't decide if I want to say relatively durable or pretty durable. I'd say he's durable. I do think he's a durable dude. He can be hurt. We saw him dropped at the end of that van fight, but how many strikes did he take before that? He did get busted up a lot, but I do think he's a very durable dude. And if he's able to get the fight into the later rounds, I can see him maybe pacing Kape because I don't know how Kape is going to do over 5 in this one. But outside of that, I just think Kape is much slicker of a striker, much smoother. He's a lot faster. Royval his striking defense is really, really bad. I know I said his durability is good, but the striking defense is really, really bad. And Kape early at least should be able to do whatever he wants. Just, maintain his range, keep the distance, counter Royval when he gets sloppy, and he gets sloppy a lot, and just land your shots and pick him apart slowly but surely. And I think he could knock out Royval. But like I said, if the fight gets extended, I could see Royval making this a dog fight and making it very close. It's a fight that I want to retape again when I'm feeling not sick. You guys could probably tell I'm mumbling, jumbling all my words. My brain's not working very well. So I want to retape this one, but I am going to pick Kape. I just don't think I'm going to bet on him because I don't really want to trust him. But he does have the tools to beat Royval. He's got the tools to be champion. It's just the guy can't show up half the time, and he can't put it together the other half of the time. But the Asu performance was pretty good outside of him poking Asu in the eye 17 times. Royval by split. Don't hate that at all. Yeah, it's a fight I got to look at a little bit more. And I don't love fading Royval because he's an absolute dog, and I love fighters like that. But Kape is way smoother on the feet. It's not even close. The dude is a really, really, really good striker. And when he's there, when he's himself, he's one of the best flyweights in the world. So I think Kape should get it done. But great fight. Should be a really fun main event if they can get them both there. But all right, guys, that's it. That's UFC Vegas 112. I'll run through the picks one more time, and then we're going to get on out of here. We're going Bleda. We're going Pat. We're going Croden, Asplund, Amosov, Gillian, Green, Kennedy, Morgan, Cezary, pre-tape Kevin, and Kape. So the only underdog I'm picking outright is Croden, I believe. But I think Sharaf is live. Frye could be live. We just don't have enough information on the guy. Horth is probably live, but I disagree with a lot of the points being made. Lemos is live. Buchecha is definitely live. There's a lot of live underdogs. It's just in terms of pick, this is where I'm at. All right, guys. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Damn, this is the last show for 6 weeks. That's kind of crazy. I didn't really think about that until now. Well, I'm going to miss you guys. I'm going to still try to do content because if you don't put stuff up, your channel dies. 6 weeks, I would have to pretty much start all over on the channel. But yeah, I'll put out some content. I know there's some regionals. I think there's a PFL Africa, if I'm not mistaken, or some kind of PFL. I know there's a PFL Europe this weekend. I hope to get to that. I know there's going to be a Risen New Year's card. I'll do a video for that. And then maybe I'll just put out some random videos about MMA in general and not necessarily breakdowns. Or maybe we'll do like look forwards. We'll look in advance at the fights coming up. I'll still be putting out content. Channel won't be quiet. But this is the last breakdown video of 2025. That's crazy. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with me this whole year. I guess also at the end of the year, I always do my recap of the year videos where I give my own awards of what I thought was the best fights of the year and whatnot. I talk about the mistakes I made. I go through my whole Bet MMA record, talk about the mistakes I make. I talk about the things I did right, what I want to do going into the next year, stuff like that. And I'll definitely be releasing that video probably closer to the end of the year because I expect to still have bets on regionals. So my Bet MMA results won't be complete till after those regionals. But yeah, I'll be putting out stuff like that. But thank you guys all for sticking with me. Thanks for sticking with me this year. And let's see what the chat has going on, and then we'll get out of here. End of 2026 predictions would be nice. Like for champ, I mean, I can already who I actually think will be champ or which bets I think have value. Because I could do both, honestly. That's a good idea. I'm going to write that down. This is why I love talking with the chat. You guys have good ideas. Should do an early breakdown of 324 in first week of January. I'm probably going to be taking the first few weeks of the break off, I'll be honest, but we'll see. Thank you, Green King. You too. What was my biggest bet this year? Oh boy, I don't know. I think we can look pretty quickly. Let's see. Who did I have a big bet on this year? I had 2 units on RDR. Ugh. Loading up my results. Let's see. Okay. 2 units. That was Bryce Mitchell. I don't think I made any massive bets this year. Was Merab Sean this year? No, it was last year. Because that was a max bet. Okay, I had 2.6 units on Jasmine Sterling parlay back in UFC 315. Okay, I had 3.5 units on Gillian Robertson and Oliskarov to win in Sanhagen versus Figgy. So far, 3.5 units would be the biggest play this year. Let's see. March. Oh, Ankalaev. That's going to be my biggest bet of the year. Ankalaev versus Pereira the first time. I had... What did I have? 6 units on him. I had, yeah, 6.3 units I had on Ankalaev. That was my biggest bet this year, and it cashed. It cashed. That was my last max bet. Can't wait to see the odds for Thompson Brito. Me too. 8 units. No. I don't go that much anymore. The last time I went over 6, I think, was Merab versus Sean. I think I went almost 10 units there. You too, my brother. Thank you, Jackson. It's been a solid year. Not my craziest year, but ROI-wise, it was one of my better years. I think we're right under double digits. Like, my results got kind of thrown off because I messed up entering one of the parlays, and they've been, like, slowly fixing my results. But overall profit should be, like, 190-something units or 189, something like that. And then on the year, it should be 30 or, like, yeah, it's around 30. With like an 8-9% ROI. So solid year. Yeah, I did do that. What an event last week was. Yeah, it was a crazy card. Biggest bet was 6 units. Oh no. Oh no. Hey, if it helps, I thought Patchy won. But all right, guys. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Thanks for chatting with me. You guys make the show what it is. Wouldn't do it without you guys. Peace out and good luck this weekend.